Hi everyone. On October 3rd, the Holy Orthodox Church celebrates the great saint Dionysius the Areopagite. Now, the entire story of Saint Dionysius has been confounded and confused by modern critics, and I'll get into that in just a little bit. But what we do know for sure is that, as it states in Acts chapter 17, that Dionysius was converted after hearing the Apostle Paul preach at the Areopagus in Athens. Now, Dionysius himself was an Athenian. He was born and raised there, and of course Athens at that time was a highly pagan city. But Dionysius had a great intellect and was always probing into the mysteries and things concerning mankind and its life here on earth. So popular was he that it is said that he was elected to represent the people of Athens as their president, and also that he was one of the 9 members of the Athenite Supreme Court. Well, again, as he was someone who was quite intellectual and quite unswerving in his pursuit of truth wherever he could find it, he began to investigate these sorts of things, all of the various persuasions that were going on in Athens at the time, and seeking the one God as best he could. Now, when he finally met the Apostle Paul and was converted by him, because Paul's sermon regarding the unknown God that the Athenians were worshiping was in fact to be known in our Lord Jesus Christ, something that Paul had said after St. Dionysius had even invited him to his home struck him, that made him believe for a certainty that Jesus Christ was God. Because on the day of our Lord's crucifixion, Dionysius was struck by the fact that there was darkness over all the land, and he was quite perplexed as to what had happened. He felt that something big was portended by this occurrence, and he remembered that. And then later on, when he finally met St. Paul, and Paul told him about the darkness over the land when the Lord had died, Dionysius realized that this is what the connection was. When that darkness occurred, it was indeed a great portent, but then he realized that it was the death of Jesus Christ on the cross, and that indeed Christ was God. Well, Dionysius, after listening to the instruction of Paul and to one of the first bishops of Athens, Herotheus, who was also given to instruct Dionysius, became a fervent and devout Christian, eventually assuming the bishopric of the Church of Athens. However, he traveled widely, and including the time when he went to Jerusalem to see the Mother of God, and not knowing who she was or what she looked like, when he finally came upon her, he said that he knew instantly by the glowing radiance of this woman, by her internal and external beauty, the fact that she was singularly remarkable among all the women he had ever seen, that he realized that she was indeed the Theotokos, the Mother of God. Well, he visited Rome. He was present at the beheading of his mentor, St. Paul, when he was executed. He was also present at the holy dormition of the Mother of God when she reposed. He continued his studies. He was a remarkably intellectual man who yet was able to combine this great intellect, like so many of the great saints, with the spiritual component, which made him able to teach the people and instruct them in many, many things. Eventually, he actually went to the city of Paris, which was a relatively small town at that time, preaching and teaching all of the people there. Well, while he was there, the Emperor Domitian had heard some of the things that this wandering bishop was saying, and was very, very upset the fact that he was making the Christians look so good and the pagans look so bad. So Domitian ordered that the holy saint be seized, and eventually he was taken and he was beheaded in or outside of the city of Paris. Now, getting back to the controversy, many modern scholars do not believe that Saint Dionysius went to Paris at all. They also do not believe that the many writings that are attributed to him, the celestial hierarchy and others, could possibly have been written by him, because they consider them Neoplatonic and drawing too much on various sources from later years. Now, this may or may not be true. I'm not here to argue it one way or the other, except to say that one could possibly argue that the writings in the opening pages of the Gospel of St. John seem pretty far advanced for their age also. But the life of St. Dionysius was taken down by that intrepid hagiographer, St. Simeon Metaphrastes, the translator, who was known for the integrity of his work. And in St. Simeon's work, he does indeed indicate that the holy Dionysius went to Paris and was executed there and not in Athens. It must also be stated that two of the ecumenical councils, the sixth and the seventh, and many saints argue that these writings were indeed by the original Saint Dionysius the Areopagite, and even Saint Nicodemus the Hagiorite, who was a very late saint, makes a strong argument that these writings are genuine. Well, whether they are or not, they have certainly been accepted as foundational in the spirituality of the Orthodox Church. And whether or not we believe that the original Saint Dionysius actually wrote them or not, it still remains a fact that he was very important in the early church, that he was martyred, that he was a completely devout and intelligent man, and spread the faith to many, many places. Perhaps one day the mystery will be solved, but in the meantime, I think we can all be assured that Saint Dionysius was a very important member of the early church, present at many important events, and that these writings that have come down to us, whether they were inspired by him, actually written by him, or perhaps someone down the line using his name, but yet was a very spiritual person, able to put together many remarkable things about apophatic theology and the celestial hierarchy, the ranks of angels, all of these things. Well, the church has had the last word and accepted these writings as spiritually very, very important in our lives as Orthodox Christians, and that St. Dionysius was indeed a very important man in his day, continuing to influence others for many